The supermarket panic buying seems to have died down, and stores are reporting a return to some sense of calm after the lockdown began. Prices have been high for many necessities as people stockpiled, but one food group that doesn't lend itself to stockpiling is fresh fruit and vegetables. I'm joined now by Glenn Forsyth from the fruit and vegetable markets. Evening, Glenn. How has this pre-lockdown panic buying, what's it done to prices for fruit and veg this week?
Well, yeah, it sure did. Everything went up as supply by a long shot exceeded demand exceeded supply by a long shot. Shelves were being emptied. Now the crazy thing is, yesterday was like Christmas Day. No one went out. Today's like Boxing Day. Hardly anyone is buying, but the produce keeps growing. Shops will need to sell their expensive stock first, and as product starts to build up again, you'll see prices fall at the market, and you'll see prices fall next week at retail too. I mean, we had people bought supplies, had people just bought supplies for 2 to 3 days at a time, we would have not experienced these super high prices and then a crash. There is still only 5 million people here to feed, so we're not going to run out of fruit and vegetables. The growers want to let people know that for sure.
So in essence, we inflicted this on ourselves by grabbing too much fruit and veg.
We certainly did. Produce is very sensitive to the supply and demand model, so we certainly did.
I've seen a few pictures of cauliflowers going around with prices on them, so give us a bit of a ballpark. What's reasonable for a collie at the moment and for a head of broccoli?
Interesting you mentioned those two veggies. Double whammy for these vegetables, as not only did they have to deal with the high demand, they're currently in a drought. So one retailer I talked with paid $5 for broccoli on Monday. He sold it for $5.99 at his shop, so basically a loss after GST, freight and wages, for example, and his staff still got abused for that. However, I heard cauliflower, after getting $8 to $9 each at the markets this week, is now being offered out tomorrow at half these values. So, again, just those two vegetables you mentioned, Lisa, the drought, they had a double whammy. They had the demand over supply and also the drought. But again, so with these cauliflower prices dropping so rapidly tomorrow and over the weekend, this will take till early next week for existing stocks to sell and the lower priced cauli to get into stores. So look out for everything next week. You will see prices fall slowly but surely as we get into next week and beyond. Right,
so next week's the week for cauliflower and broccoli soup. Also, I want to know what is happening with the slightly ugly vegetables that are still perfectly good and that kind of stock that the big retail supermarkets don't tend to take but go to other grocery stores. What's happening with all that stuff?
Okay, well, this is a problem as supermarkets can't take it all. I mean, they have some of it go out into their misfits and odd bunch range that you may see out there, but there's a lot more product than this to go around, which is why we need the greengrocers to stay open and keep competition alive with prices to us, the public. For example, broadly speaking, in Auckland, the produce is broken into about 3 groups. You've got your food service group, the restaurants and subways, etc. You've got your independents, that's the greengrocers and farmers markets, and then you've got our supermarket duopoly. Now, with the first 2 groups closed for 4 weeks, it has literally meant the supermarkets have tripled their business overnight. And this puts an incredible amount of pressure on the supply chain to these stores, not to mention that they have more of a captive audience and can charge handsomely as a result, if you know what I mean.
So you obviously think that the independent grocers should stay open, which is not the case at the moment, is it?
No, absolutely. I mean, I do. They should stay open. I mean, it's not only the greengrocers, it's the butchers and bakeries too. We're pushing people away from other outlets and confining them even more in one spot. Have talked to many greengrocers today, like Jack Lum and Remuera and the Fresh Market at Gate Pa and Tauranga, and they're doing all the right things. They're sanitising trolleys, their benches. They've got signs about social distancing, mask tape on the floor, gloves for customers if they want them, one in, one out policy, but they still have to close. The government has not thought about this at all. Just today I talked with a sweet corn grower in Northland, a raspberry grower in Hawke's Bay, both with extra product and no outlet for it. And the likelihood is that their current harvest will probably have to be dumped. The independents, they really got a raw deal here, no notice. On Monday, the announcement about the lockdown, I believe that I even heard the greengrocer word mentioned. On Wednesday night, the independents, they just had the rug pulled out from under their feet. I mean, and like in supermarkets yesterday, I actually went to Pack and Save Rotorua and Countdown Rotorua. Now, and I wasn't spreading my germs, I was being very careful, but I was just buying some supplies, and I saw the plastic guards at the checkout and all that sort of thing. And I bet the independents didn't know about that a couple of weeks ago, but the supermarkets probably did. So I really think the independents have been served a raw deal here. So they can now apply to MPI by 5 p.m. today. That was the deadline, and hopefully they all did, and hopefully they will be allowed to stay open from next week for the benefit of customers and small businesses, staff and growers, because we do need them to stay open. And if they're playing by the rules, there's no reason why it'll be safe. If you get what I mean.
Thank you for joining us. That is Glenn Forsyth, from the fruit and vegetables market, and we will keep an eye on that, whether the greengrocers do get clearance to open up.